Right now, as you read this, your phone knows what time you woke up, it knows which apps you opened first, it knows how long you stared at your screen before you even had your morning coffee. And none of that data is sitting quietly on your device. It is moving. It is being packaged, labeled, and sent to servers you have never heard of, to companies you have never agreed to work with, for purposes buried inside a privacy policy you will never finish reading. The app store you trusted to protect you is the exact same system watching everything you do inside it. That is not a theory. That is the architecture. There's a question that almost nobody's asking out loud, and the silence around it is telling. Every single day, more than 2.5 billion people around the world open the Google Play Store. They scroll, they search, they download. They press install without reading a single word of what that app is actually going to do to their phone, to their data, and to their privacy. And the reason they do not read it is not because they are careless. It is because the system was designed to make sure they never feel the need to. The interface is clean, the icons are friendly, the reviews seem real. Everything about it is engineered to produce one psychological outcome in the user: trust. And trust, in the world of data collection, is the most valuable thing a platform can manufacture. But here's where it gets interesting. The Google Play Store is not just a marketplace where you download apps. It is itself a data collection machine with its own tracking architecture, its own background processes, and its own settings, many of which are switched on by default, that monitor how you interact with every application on your device. Think about what that means for a moment. You install an app to track your fitness. The app collects your health data. But the store through which you installed that app is simultaneously collecting data about the fact that you installed it, how often you open it, how long you spend inside it, and what that behavior pattern says about you as a consumer. You are being observed on 2 levels at once, and most people only ever think about one. The architecture of this surveillance is not hidden in the malicious sense. Google does not deny it exists. What they do instead is something far more effective. They disclose it in a language that is technically accurate and practically incomprehensible. A study published in late 2025 examined how real users navigate the privacy disclosures on the Google Play Store. Researchers built a controlled digital environment that replicated the actual Play Store experience and walked participants through 3 sections of an app listing: the data safety summary, the privacy policy, and the permissions list. What they found was both predictable and alarming. The data safety section, which comes first in the walkthrough, uses small icons, short labels, and minimal text. Participants scanned it in seconds with almost no cognitive effort. They absorbed a vague sense that data was being moved without understanding what data, where it was going, or why. That is not transparency. That is the aesthetic of transparency without any of the substance. And this is where everything changes, because once you understand how that deception works, you cannot unsee it. The permissions list, which came last in that same study, produced the strongest emotional reaction from participants. When they saw that a flashlight app wanted access to their microphone, or that a simple game wanted access to their precise location, something in their psychology shifted. Concern rose. Questions formed. And in that moment, they finally felt what should have been present from the very beginning, the awareness that something was being taken from them. The problem is that by the time most users reach the permissions list, they have already made their decision. The install button has already been pressed. The data pipeline has already been opened. Now let us go deeper into what the Play Store itself is tracking, because this is the part that most coverage never reaches. Inside the Google Play Store settings, hidden behind your profile icon and several taps into a menu that was not designed to be easily discovered, there are toggles that control what Google collects about your behavior within the store and within your apps. One of these is called Play Protect. Most people know Play Protect as the security scanner that checks for malicious apps. And that is partially true. But Play Protect also has a secondary function called Improve Harmful App Detection. And when this option is enabled, which it is by default, your device is sending information about the apps you have installed to Google's servers. The stated purpose is to build a better threat detection model. The actual outcome is that Google maintains a continuously updated profile of your installed software library. Read that again. Google knows every app you have ever installed, including the ones you have already deleted. But there is more. A feature tucked inside the Play Store settings called App Install Optimization runs in the background on your device. Its stated function is to make future app installs faster by studying how you interact with apps. But what it is actually doing is collecting behavioral data about your in-app interactions and sending that data to be processed. It consumes system memory, drains your battery, and uses your mobile data, all to feed an optimization system that benefits app developers and Google's advertising infrastructure far more than it benefits you. The people who discovered this were not data scientists. They were ordinary users who noticed their phones running hot and their batteries dying before midday. They started digging into the settings, and what they found buried inside those menus was not a glitch. It was deliberate design. Let us talk about the scale of what is being built here, because the numbers make the stakes impossible to ignore. According to Google's own 2025 security report, the Play Store now runs over 10,000 safety checks on every app it publishes, and in that year alone, Google prevented more than 255,000 apps from gaining excessive access to sensitive user data. That sounds reassuring until you ask the obvious follow-up question. If the Play Store is preventing 255,000 apps from abusing data access, how many apps did make it through with permissions that were broader than they needed to be? How many of those apps are currently installed on your device right now, quietly accessing data you never consciously agreed to share? The system catches a percentage of the violations. The rest become part of the ecosystem, and you are living inside it. Here is what informed observers in the privacy space have been noting for some time. Google's enforcement of its own data safety standards operates on a self-reporting model. Developers fill out a data safety form in the Play console. They declare what their app collects, what it shares, and with whom. Google cross-references those declarations with the app's known permissions and SDK behaviors using machine learning tools. But the fundamental problem is that this is still a system where the entity being regulated writes the report about itself. A 2025 academic analysis of nearly 50,000 Android apps found that over 25% of apps sampled had not completed any part of the data safety section at all. Among the apps that did complete it, 11% of developers openly declared that the data they collected was not encrypted in transit, and 34% did not provide users with any way to request data deletion. These are not edge cases. These are features of the mainstream ecosystem that you use every single day. Now here is where the story takes a different shape, because the question is no longer just what is happening to your data. The question is what you can do about it specifically and immediately. And the answer begins not with uninstalling everything you love, but with understanding exactly which settings inside the Play Store and inside your Android system are working against you, and switching them off one by one. This is not technical complexity. This requires no coding knowledge. What it requires is knowing where to look, because the settings were designed to be hard to find. Start with the Google Play Store itself. Open the app, tap your profile photo in the top right corner, and navigate to Settings. From there, go to About and make sure your Play Store is fully updated. This step matters more than it sounds. Google has a documented pattern of introducing new tracking features through Play Store updates, often without announcement, and always with the new feature enabled by default. Staying current means you at least have the opportunity to find and disable new data collection toggles before they run unnoticed in the background for months. After updating, return to the main settings menu and open the General section. Look for App Install Optimization and turn it off. This single action stops the background behavioral tracking that has been quietly using your phone's resources without your informed consent. Next, navigate to Play Protect Settings. You will find this under your profile icon as well. Here, keep the primary scan apps with Play Protect toggle enabled. That function genuinely protects your device from malicious software, and disabling it creates a real vulnerability. But turn off the secondary toggle labeled Improve Harmful App Detection. That is the setting that transmits your installed app data to Google's servers. The security benefit is marginal. The data contribution is significant. You're making a trade you were never explicitly asked to make, and now you're taking back the choice. Think about what that means. You can keep the protection and remove the surveillance. They are separate. They were designed to feel inseparable, but they are not. Now move outside the Play Store entirely, because the data collection pipeline extends well beyond the single application. Go to your phone's main settings menu. Not the Play Store settings, but the system settings for your entire Android device. Navigate to Security and Privacy, then look for more privacy settings. Inside this menu, you will find an option called Usage and Diagnostics. This setting, when enabled, sends a continuous stream of information to Google about your device behavior, which apps you use, how long you use them, how often you charge your phone, and specific patterns of interaction across your entire device. It runs constantly in the background. It uses your data connection and your battery to do it. Turn it off. The only entity that benefits from this setting being enabled is Google. Then there is the advertising system, which is its own architecture, running underneath everything else. Go back into your device settings, find the Google section, navigate to All Services, then Privacy and Security, and open the Ads menu. Here you will find the option to manage personalized ads. Turn off personalized ads. What this does is stop Google from using the behavioral profile it has constructed about you, your app usage, your search history, your location patterns, your demographic inferences, to serve you targeted advertising. This does not make you invisible. It does not stop data collection entirely, but it severs the most commercially exploitative link in the chain. You stop being a product being sold to advertisers in real time, and you start being a user again. There is a meaningful difference between those two things. Here is something that rarely gets discussed in these conversations. Your Android device may have a feature that allows you to reset your advertising ID entirely. The advertising ID is a unique identifier assigned to your device that allows advertisers and app developers to track your behavior across different apps and build a unified profile of who you are as a consumer. Up until April 2025, Google classified the Android ID as a persistent device identifier. As of a policy update announced in April of that year, Google officially reclassified it to reduce its persistence. But the advertising ID, a separate identifier used specifically for ad targeting, still exists, and you can reset it or opt out of it entirely inside your device's Google settings under ads. Resetting this ID does not delete the profile that has already been built about you, but it cuts the thread connecting your past behavior to your future behavior, and that disruption has real value. Now go to the Google account privacy checkup. Open your Google account, navigate to the Data and Privacy tab, and run the Privacy Checkup tool. This will walk you through your web and app activity settings, your timeline data, your YouTube history, your profile visibility, and your third-party app connections. Pay particular attention to the web and app activity section. This setting controls whether Google records and stores your interactions with Google services, including Play Store searches, Google Assistant commands, and in-app search behavior. You can turn this off, and you can delete the history that has already been accumulated. Inside that same section, look for the option labeled Include Voice and Audio Activity. If this is enabled, Google has been saving audio recordings every time you interact with Google Assistant or any voice-activated Google service. Disable it and delete the existing recordings. And this is where everything comes together into a single coherent picture that most people never see, because they are looking at each of these settings in isolation rather than as a connected system. What you're dealing with is not a single app tracking your behavior. It is a layered infrastructure where the Play Store tracks your app consumption patterns, the apps themselves track your in-app behavior, the advertising system aggregates those signals into a consumer profile, the diagnostic system monitors your device usage at the hardware level, and the voice activity system captures your spoken words. Every layer feeds the next. Every piece of data makes the other pieces more valuable. And all of it operates with your nominal consent. Consent given through a terms of service agreement that the average person would need over 70 hours to fully read, according to research conducted on major digital platform agreements. What most observers are missing in the current conversation is how aggressively this system is evolving. As of late 2025 and into 2026, Google has been integrating generative AI models into its app review process, helping the platform identify complex malicious patterns in app behavior faster than any human team could. In theory, this is a security improvement. In practice, it means that the same AI infrastructure being used to detect bad actors is also processing behavioral data from billions of legitimate users to train and refine its detection models. The data you generate by simply using your phone is fuel for a machine learning system operating at a scale that is genuinely difficult to conceptualize. Google's 2025 Ecosystem Safety Report confirmed that this AI-enhanced review system is now an active part of the platform's core architecture. It blocked 266 million risky installation attempts in that year alone. The system is powerful. The question that goes unasked is what else that power is being used for. There's also a dimension to this that affects children specifically, and it is urgent. Starting January 2026, Google implemented new restrictions on how apps can use age-related data, specifically limiting developers to using what is called the Age Signals API for age-appropriate content delivery, and prohibiting that data from being used for advertising, analytics, or user profiling. On the surface, this is a meaningful protection for younger users, but the fact that these restrictions needed to be explicitly written into policy in 2026 tells you something important about what was happening before those restrictions existed. Apps were using age data for exactly those prohibited purposes. They were profiling children. They were building advertising targets out of minors. And they were doing it through a platform that positioned itself as a trusted, family-friendly ecosystem. The rule change is progress, but progress only arrives after the damage has already been done at scale. Here is the uncomfortable truth at the center of all of this. The Google Play Store is not the enemy. It is the most comprehensive app distribution platform ever built, and its security infrastructure genuinely protects billions of people from malware, scams, and fraudulent software every single day. In 2025 alone, Google Play Protect's enhanced fraud protection expanded to cover over 2.8 billion Android devices across 185 markets, blocking high-risk applications before they could compromise user finances or device integrity. That is not theater. That is real protection operating at real scale. But protection from external threats and extraction of internal data are not mutually exclusive activities. A system can keep the wolves outside your door while simultaneously measuring everything you do inside your house. That is the dual nature of the platform you are dealing with, and understanding that duality is the beginning of making genuinely informed decisions about your own digital life. The settings you have just learned about are not difficult to find once you know they exist. But the fact that you did not know they existed, that you have probably been using this platform for years without once being proactively informed that your installed app data was being transmitted, that your behavioral patterns were being collected, that your device usage was being continuously streamed to Google's infrastructure. That is not an accident. Default-on settings in systems used by billions of people generate data at a scale that default-off settings never could. The decision about what is on by default and what requires the user to actively opt in is not a technical decision. It is a business decision, and it has been made, consistently, in favor of the platform's data interests over the user's privacy interests. Turn off app install optimization. Disable the harmful app detection data transmission. Turn off usage and diagnostics. Opt out of personalized ads. Reset your advertising ID. Run your Google privacy checkup. Disable voice and audio activity recording. Review every permission granted to every app on your device through your system settings by navigating to Settings, Privacy, and then Permission Manager. Look at which apps have access to your microphone, your camera, your precise location, and your contacts. Ask yourself honestly whether each of those permissions is necessary for what you actually use that app to do. If the answer is no, revoke it. You have the right to do this. You have always had the right to do this. You were just never told it existed. Because here is what nobody at the policy level will say out loud. The data safety labels on the Play Store are built on a self-reporting system that academic research has shown to be incomplete. The privacy policies are written in language that is functionally inaccessible to the ordinary user. The default settings favor collection. The update cycles introduced new tracking features without announcement, and the average user scrolls past all of it, taps install, and hands over more access than they realize, to more entities than they know for longer than they intended. That is the system as it currently operates. That is the architecture of the thing you interact with every single day. The real question is not whether Google is spying on you. The real question is how much of that surveillance you are willing to accept now that you know it exists, and how much of your own control you are going to take back. Because the tools to reclaim that control are already on your device, already accessible, already waiting. They were just buried, and now you know where they are. What happens next is entirely your decision. The only question left is whether the next billion updates will make these settings easier to find or harder. Watch that space carefully, because the answer will tell you everything you need to know about whose interests this platform is actually designed to serve.